So I got a nasty when I took my backcountry skis out for the first time. Found a hidden rock there and just gouged the crap out of these skis. But it's still intact, that piece. So I'm actually going to try to glue this down with some epoxy and then clamp it down. I'm going to get some epoxy. I cleaned this really well with alcohol and scrubbed it down, brushed it out, got any little debris, dirt out of it. And I'm going to try to bond this down with some epoxy and some clamps and some wax paper so it doesn't glue to the thing. But anyway, we'll see if it works. So I had this aluminum, flat and smooth aluminum laying around in my garage, and I had a few shorter pieces I cut to the right length. So I took some aluminum and then I put wax paper on it so it doesn't stick to the epoxy as much, or if it does, at least it will only stick to the paper and not to the aluminum, so I don't have a big piece of aluminum glued to my skis. If the wax paper sticks, then that's fine. I can just scrape off the wax paper. This will give me something that I can grab onto with my clamps. I cut this to the right size, so it's going to cover that one. And I got another gouge right here. I'm going to try to glue down. Same thing, just another piece of aluminum with wax paper taped on it. And I'm going to clamp that down just with these simple clamps here to keep those in place. We washed it out with some alcohol and cleaned it really well, so we'll mix up a little bit of epoxy and see if we can get this to glue down and stay in place. So I got the Loctite marine epoxy, which apparently works better on skis because it bonds to plastic. Be a little more flexible with the marine epoxy because it has a longer 2-hour set time. I couldn't find the clear, but I got the white, so it's not going to match perfectly, but at least it will bond in the one spot that I need to fix right here, so I'll get that figured out. Use it to repair this terrible core shot on my skis to glue it down. It's sad, but I'm going to have to glue it down. Just trying to get air bubbles to the top. Mix up the resin and the hardener. Unfortunately, this epoxy is white. I couldn't find the clear stuff in the marine epoxy that I wanted, so it's white. So it's going to show up on my skis, but we'll do the best we can here. So now we're going to try to get some of this to go into the hole here. And I've lined this with some wax paper, so we'll pull this carefully, put a little tension on it, get it to go down all the way here. Just a little alcohol on that. Just want to wipe off some of that excess here. It has a long set time, so it's gives you a little bit of time to work with it here and make mistakes. Pull down that piece of metal here. Okay. Another little divot right here I want to glue, so I'm going to put a little tiny dab of glue in that spot right here. That one I'm going to have to use with p-tex to fix that spot. But anyway, this one I might be able to glue down a bit. So there's that. I have this other piece of aluminum, L-shaped aluminum with wax paper on the bottom on that one again. And I'm just going to try to smush it down here. There we go, I just got to let that dry. Now I've also got out some other projects of things I need to glue since I have a bunch of extra epoxy. I've got this fridge drawer I got to glue, so if you have other things around the house you need to glue, you might as well have them out ready to go when you're already mixing up some epoxy anyway. So I got this glue clamped down, just gotta let it set probably overnight. We'll check it in the morning. So this is that bad core shot that I glued down, and I started scraping it with a razor, and then I scraped some of the bulk of the excess epoxy off with the razor, but then I also started using a paint scraper, and that wasn't working quite well either because the p-tex scrapes off a little bit easier. It's more of a softer plastic, but this little bit of plastic I glued down that's kind of slightly sticking up is hard to get down, so I've been sanding it down now. I got a pretty rough grit sandpaper to smooth this little blob of plastic that's sticking up, smooth it down more, and then I'm going to slowly move to a more fine sandpaper to sand this down a little bit. And it seems to be working. I got rid of the excess epoxy around the edge of the part that's glued down, but you can see there's still kind of a part here that's just slightly bumped up, just barely. So I'm going to sand it down a little bit more and then work my way down to a more less aggressive sandpaper. So we got this much more smooth. There's not a bump there anymore where we glued it down. Kind of see where the glue job was done, but it's starting to be a little more hidden. It's very scratchy right now because I started with a 40, then a 60 grit sandpaper, and now I'm going to go over it with a 100 grit sandpaper and kind of increase the grit to make it a more fine grit to smooth it out more, to get rid of these scratch marks. Oh, getting much more smooth now, almost there. It's looking good now. We got it really nice and smooth up to about a 400 grit sandpaper, so it's very smooth. It's just still got a slight haze to it because we were sanding it down and add a little p-tex right here. But we got it really smooth. I'm impressed we were able to smooth it out really well. I hope this fix stays in place as long as that epoxy holds up and keeps that part of the ski in place. That'd be awesome. Need to polish it down a little bit and get a good wax on it now.